I tell you what, though, I know everyone thinks that the Tottenham's fortunes have gone massively downhill since the Champions League final. And do you remember last time I was on your show, I said it was the worst thing that could have happened for us to get to the Champions League final. Particularly unpopular opinion, no doubt. But I do think that...
Look, we were lucky to get there. But none of us we can all admit that. We got there by luck, We didn't...
Yeah, I said earlier, Dave, I think you were maybe just gone for a few seconds, but I was saying to Brad Matthews, I was like, take myself back to those emotions. If I was being honest with myself, I was actually laughing the fact that I was watching Moussa Sissoko and Harry Winks, take part in a Champions League final. I was like, how on earth did we stumble upon this, situation? And, speaks a lot to Poch, speaks a lot to what Lucas did, is what I said. But, still, I think you have to be kidding yourself if you really thought that Moussa Sissoko and Harry Winks were going to carry us through to a Champions League final. It's just insane.
It's also the problem with why I think it was the worst thing that happened was because of the timing of it. Like we just built the new stadium, and the stadium cost £1 billion when it was like scheduled to be 400 million originally, right? So that additional 600 million that came out of budgets that could have gone towards other things to some extent. But at the same time, so you've got that massive hit in the 600 million that you've got to fill the hole with when we need to rebuild. And then at the same time, the rebuilding, all of those players were in the most key positions. Like Danny Rose never played again really after that season, did he? He was out like by sort of lunchtime or, by January the next season, his head had gone. Kieran Trippier pulled the plug, immediately after that tournament and went off to Atletico Madrid. Moussa Dembele was gone the next January. He went off to China, and then obviously Eriksen as well, right? There was massive, and then I don't know when did Vertonghen stayed around for another year, didn't he?
No, Vertonghen stayed around, but Wanyama was fucked.
Wanyama as well. That's it. Yeah. So you got 4 major key players in key positions that needed to be replaced, and a 600 million pound headache based on economic factors like inflation and commodity market booms that no one can predict. But I tell you what, even though it's a step back and everyone's annoyed, everyone gets frustrated by what's seen as a couple of backward steps over the last 3 or 4 years, you'd much rather be Tottenham now than you would Chelsea. Chelsea haven't got the money to be able to pay the commodity market right now and inflation. Chelsea have got a stadium with 45,000 or whatever, it's 42,000 there. They can't rebuild their stadium. They put their plans on ice because of the, things like timber's up 150% this year. All metals are up 60%. All of those kind of anything to do with the building trade is just going through the roof. And
triple the cost of what it normally would have been.
Triple the cost, right? So if Tottenham had waited another couple of years, another 3 years to build our stadium, that would be a £2 billion stadium now, not a £1 billion stadium. So Chelsea can't do that. If Chelsea ever, for whatever reason, have a bad season and miss out on the Champions League, they are in a whole world of troubles because they're getting most of their revenue from outside of media and the things that we all get. It's all Champions League revenue. They've got huge salary bills and they have to participate in the same financial fair play regulations as we do, And so Tottenham, in my opinion, because of the money that came to spend, the money that was taken from the for the stadium came out of debt. That doesn't affect FFP. But the additional £2-3 million we can get every week from matchday receipts now does go onto the profit side of the balance sheet. So in terms of where we're going to be sat in 2, 3, 4 years' time, especially if I know that Dermot was saying earlier. Sorry, I'm rambling. If Dermot was saying earlier,
informing us.
If Dermot was saying if there's a run on the banks, if there's if they call in the debt, like that's never going to happen. Like the best case scenario is that there's, from a Tottenham paying off debt perspective, is that there's inflation. None of us want that, but from a position of a football club that has £800 million in debt and a stadium that's brand new that depreciates by 10% in value every year for the first 10 years, plus ideally for them, not for us, but inflation that outperforms the interest rates that they've got on those loans, our debt is just getting whittled away to irrelevance. So in 5 years' time, I know everyone wants success today, but in 5 years' time, Tottenham, as long as we can keep the momentum going and kind of get back on the front foot under Conte, and if we make some decent purchases, then I think we're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
More financial liberty each year that passes,
100%.
or even more purchasing power, I guess, each
Well,
year that passes.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So
and look,
if we can be
I
patient,
fully get
that's
it.
good.
I fully get it. And Sean, look, in an ideal world, I mean, I love the business model. But in your opinion, by the time that this business model generates enough cash to compete where City, Chelsea, and that are now, do you not think in 4 or 5 years' time, once we're ready to do that, that it already be gone to another level?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, maybe, right? Like, so Liverpool do live within their means. Manchester City and Chelsea happened to get their owners in before the FFP was as it is, and they kind of got their foot in the. And obviously, they've got the Champions League revenue, right, which is worth 150 million. I think Chelsea made 150 million last year by winning the competition, right? Outside of the TV revenue and all the sponsorships and all that stuff. So that kind of keeps them going. But like I say, they are entirely dependent on that. Hopefully, Chelsea have a kickback, have a hiccup. And the only yeah, listen, I would urge people to be patient. I'd urge people to reflect a little bit. And when people say, if Daniel Levy could put his money into his pockets, I just don't think people understand the reality of what is possible outside of getting the naming rights and the stadium. And like I said, last time we spoke, we gave the Newcastle suggestion as an example and the Man City as an example. You asked me, Dave, if what Tavistock, if they could do anything in that kind of line, right? So I looked up what Tavistock's investments are.
Just quickly before
sorry,
you do that, where Sean is coming from this is, so what I was asking him basically was the way City have funneled money through from their companies in advertising through City, and stuff like that. So basically, just to give people a bit of background, that's all it is, Sean.
Yeah. No,
this is basically, I asked Sean, could Tavistock do that with Tottenham if the likes of City and stuff are doing it? So, sorry, Sean, go on.
Yeah, so what Manchester City do, right? So their owners obviously own the airlines company, Etihad Air and all that stuff, right? And so because that's a consumer-facing brand that is global, there is relevance to them spending an exorbitant amount of money on branding all over their shirts, all over the stadium. Because wherever Man City go, that name's going to be out there, right? So Etihad could justify taking money from the airline part of their business, stick it on the stadium. They may pay 4 or 5 times more than they probably should, right? But there's still a relevance to that. And the same with Mike Ashley doing it with Sports Direct, right? Sports Direct, it's consumer facing. There's relevance to the idea of the brand recognition. To answer your question, could Tavistock do that? I looked at what Tavistock's invest. They've got 200 companies. Pretty much every single one of them are real estate, large-scale developments in the Bahamas, in Orlando. There's kind of small-scale hotels. They've got a biotech company. They've got a couple of retail stores.
From it, basically.
There's absolutely no consumer-facing real, there's no one individual one of those businesses that's big enough to be able
that we could identify it with.
Yeah. So the only way that we could do something similar that would make sense is if ENIC were, the people that are asking for ENIC out, who do they want in? Identify me somebody that's got 2 billion or 3 billion or whatever it would be, that has enough of an interest in property and real estate, because that's what they'd be buying, as well as the football club. They'd be buying half of the high road. They also have to have, in order to, just one thing to buy the company, to also inject that capital that you guys want, where you can have the 300-400 million transfer budget every season. They'd also have to have a company that is a brand that could do the naming rights and do all the things that Etihad do or Mike Ashley does at Sports Direct. And ideally, you'd also have someone that doesn't abuse human rights when in their mannerisms or mechanisms for making money, right? Find me one of those people out there. I don't know who there is, right? I don't know anybody that's in or from a country that doesn't abuse human rights, that ticks all of those boxes. So it's very easy to say ENIC out, but who do you want in? Who is the relevant?
I just want to clarify one thing there, Sean. So look, I'm not asking for 200-300 million every transfer window, man. I know. What I'm asking for is why we're in the pickle we are in and the positions we need to cover. I'm asking for it now. After that, then you don't have to spend as much every window because you already have a lot more in place. You can sell players, bring some in, whatever else, and balance the books or whatever else you want to do. Fine. But right now, where we're at, That's why I'm calling for that money. But look, don't get me wrong. I'm not stupid enough to be asking for it every single.
No, I know. And I'm taking the extremes of the opinions.
Yeah.
I get a lot of people go, the ticket prices are too high. And I'm not suggesting that Daniel Levy is a 10 out of 10 chairman. I don't think he's the 2 out of 10 chairman that a lot of people do. I think he's been a solid 8 out of 10 for Tottenham over the last 20 years. And whilst it might annoy a lot of us to have to pay the most expensive season ticket prices, at White Hart Lane, there was a 36,000 seater stadium that had 120,000 people on the wait list. We now have a 63,000 seater stadium, and we still have 90,000 people on the wait list. So, and every one of those people would happily pay an extra 20% if it meant that someone who's got a season ticket would give up theirs so they can get theirs early. That's just capitalism. Some people have more money than others, and people are willing to pay what they're willing to pay. And the only other kind of defensive comment
the problem with that though, Sean, is then they'll start pricing out the working man from the club. And
I know, I get that as well. 100%, I get that. Yeah. But Tottenham's a global brand, or trying to be. And the amount of people that are affected by the season ticket is probably 1% of the total fan base, right? There's 1 million people out there, or 10 million people around the world that would support Tottenham via TV. So I get it. I take your point, right? You don't want to offend and price out the local working class people, but like I say, the only other point is when people say profits, ENIC have taken all these profits out of the club. I don't know if people are aware, but Daniel Levy and the executives at Tottenham haven't taken a dividend for the last 5 seasons, at least since the stadium was even introduced. It might be 6 or 7 seasons, but from the 5 years that I've looked at, no dividends. So the only money that Daniel Levy's taken out of the club is his salary, and whilst that is the highest salary in the football in the Premier League, it's only 1% higher than Crystal Palace's chairman. It's only 1% higher than Chelsea's chairman, Manchester United's chairman, and a lot of the other clubs, right? And on top of that, the total compensation paid to Tottenham executives is a lot smaller than the people that we're competing with, because we don't have as many directors who are taking that salary. So the idea that Tottenham are taking, like, we're ripping money out, it's just not true.
No, I don't think I don't think they're complaining about him taking money out of the club. I think what the argument is that he's not putting it into transfers, which is where they think we need it most. But look, Sean, look, I think you've been a brilliant guest, man.
He always smashes it.
Look, what I will say is
time flies with him.
It's been a perfect warm up for Mr. Daigle next week. I think you and him will be a fascinating debate.
Got his work cut out for him.
Yeah, I think it'll be absolutely fascinating. But look, Sean, before we let you go, 2 things you can help us answer this super chat with Dermot. And then last thing is plug your channel. But Tottenham Gold says, sure, we as fans never ask for the new ground. I understand what you're saying, but I'd rather have the old White Hart Lane.
Yeah.
Sean, you are a legend, man.
I love that's Dermot, is it? I think it's Dermot. Yeah, I love Dermot. I love all the guys over at Tottenham Tantrum, and like I say, we don't agree on most of the stuff, I think, around the financial side, but it's that's cool. That's what.
But Sean, this is why we get you on, because having these debates, people might come around and hear things that maybe they've never thought of before. So this is what it's all about, my man.
And I'm not trying to be agreeable, like I'm on the channel that I'm. Oh, just before I say that, like in terms of that, like we didn't ask for the stadium. If we'd kept the stadium that we have right now, I guarantee you financially we would never be able to compete at all. 100%. We might have been able to buy a couple of extra players, but the money that would have come to buy the players, like if you think that the billion that we spent on the stadium could have been spent on players, it couldn't have been. Money that goes into infrastructure doesn't come out of financial fair play. Money that comes for player purchases does, right? So the balance sheet is slightly different. So you can't. The idea that we could just take that billion and go, well, screw the new stadium. Let's just go and buy 10 Messis. That wouldn't have been possible. We would have been in breach a long time ago. So, but take your point. Not everyone wanted a new stadium, but I do think having the stadium, like I say, if we can be patient, in a few years' time, is going to bode very well for Tottenham, all being well.
No, interesting point. But look, plug your channel, man. Big up, Dermot. Really appreciate the support, brother.
Love Dermot. The channel is just getting going. It's Spurs Talk Show on Twitter and on YouTube. Just getting going. thank you so much for anyone that's. I think you guys all shared and retweeted my my little tweet the other day that was trying to get going. So that's where I'm going to be, Spurs Talk Show, and essentially, I'm not going to be doing like agreeable content. I want to challenge narratives. I want everyone to come on whenever they can, if and when they can, and come onto the stream and tell me that I'm an idiot. Tell me why I'm an idiot. I'm not here to for everyone to be kumbaya. I want to have controversial debates.
What I will say is you're getting a lot better reception than what you did the last day out. So, I mean, people are definitely listening to you. But look, Sean, we do have 2 super chats for you before you go, and they are from Maori, that Spurs episode. So we will take these. And then the bottom two, I'm saving yours because I'm going to give it to our house resident in transfers and player expert. That's Jacko. So Maui from that Spurs episode. By the way, guys, do get over and check it out. It is
just
a great
put it
chat,
in the link,
Maui.
everybody. Sean's channel's down in the link in the chat, everybody. So head on over there, please. And I'm pretty sure you can keep watching the video while you're subscribing over there. But you must subscribe. Sorry, Dave.
And look, you'll definitely be seeing a lot more of Shawnee around here on this channel as well. That's for sure. But he says here in Orlando, where Tavistock is very successful with Medical City, we are not a poor club. It's a false notion. On-field success is a different story. And he also says, Sean, Tavistock is building a university for Disney. A huge deal. Every Tavistock entity is successful except Spurs. What would you say to Murray?
We got Murray.
Well, but first of all, I don't accept that Tottenham are not a success story. I think that I remember the days under Alan Sugar. I was just old enough to remember Irving Scholar, and in my lifetime, Enoch and Daniel Levy's been the best chairman, and I think that we've had 20 years of amazing progression. I think if you look at the Premier League finishes under Alan Sugar, we never finished above 7th. We won 1 FA Cup in his time in 1991. We haven't had that much trophyware or silverware success that can compete this time under Daniel Levy. But like I said before, it's not silverware; it's silver rare. It's only 5 teams that have won more than 3 cups, or sorry, more than 2 cups in the last 21 years. It's not something that every club should be entitled to. I think we've had a fantastic reign. I think we're going through a bit of a difficult transition, but over his 20 years, 16 good years, 4 not so good years. I don't accept that it's not been a success. And in terms of Tavistock for the university and Disney, that will all be financed and paid for in different ways. And that's a different, I don't know anything about that, but that doesn't mean that there should be money available for Tottenham. It's kind of 2 separate things, but I do appreciate the comment though, Murray.
There you are, Murray. Absolute brilliant answer. Honestly, Murray, tune in next week for Sean and Daigle. Honestly, if we can construct this right, it is going to blow people's mind, this debate, because believe me, Daigle has everything stored up. Sean, I know you have a lot of fascinating things there. It really is going to be fascinating. But before we let you go, Cougar99, Sean, did that flat cap come as an accessory with a mobility scooter?
I'm not sure. Look, are you suggesting that I'm old and out of weight, overweight to the point where I can't move around? If that's the case, you'd be right. But no, I had to buy the cap separately. But yeah.
There you are, Cooper. There you are. Absolutely love it. But Sean, absolutely brilliant.
Thanks, guys.
What you're doing. You're absolutely killing it. I love listening to you. I think you're absolutely fascinating, my man. So thank you very much for your time. And look, again, we'll have you on before the week's out, my man. So big yourself up.
Thanks for all the support as well, Sean. Really appreciate it, brother. Well said, my man.
More than welcome. Deserve every penny. Thanks, guys. See you soon.
See you. And everybody, that's Spurs Talk Show. Do check it out. Next up-and-coming channel. I can already feel it. So do get over there and check that out. It's going to be amazing. Trust me. But Shawnee, my man, I'll see you soon, brother.
We'll catch you.
Absolutely brilliant from Mr. Butler there. Absolutely brilliant guest. Oh, man. And you know what, Jack? People are listening to him. You can see it in the chat from last week to this week. People are definitely listening. Brilliant, Sean. Big up.
I was just getting, I can't tell you, Dave. I actually learned a lot. Probably should have got a notepad, to the side there, because then it would have helped, for that debate that we'll be seeing as well. I learned a lot.